Hello students, today we are going to study class 7 biology, and today we are going to deal with chapter number 2, and please turn back to page number 36 of your textbook. This is a classification chapter, and today we are going to deal with the classification of the kingdoms. Okay, Vithankar classified the organisms into 5 kingdoms. That is we are going to deal today. So please open page number 36. Now let's get started. Characteristics of 5 kingdoms. So Vithankar 1959 classified the organisms into 5 kingdoms, and that 5 kingdoms are kingdom Monera, kingdom Protista, fungi, plantae and animalia. So we are going to deal with its characteristics. So 5 kingdoms, system of classification. First kingdom is kingdom Monera, unicellular. It means made up of single cell. Primitive, it means one of the most earlier found organisms. They lack a well-defined nucleus. That means they are the prokaryotic bacteria. Okay, they don't have the proper nucleus, well-defined nucleus. And the cell components, for example mitochondria, these all are lacking. Chloroplast, these such kind of cell organelles are not present, and they can be autotrophs and heterotrophs. It means some of the organisms of this category are autotrophs, that means they prepare their own food, while the others are heterotrophs, that means they are dependent on other organisms for food. Now the next is kingdom Protista, unicellular organisms having a well-defined nucleus. It means they are also made up of single cell and they are eukaryotic. Why? Because they have the proper nucleus. And the same one, autotrophs or heterotrophs. Autotrophs are those organisms that can prepare their own food. Heterotrophs, they don't prepare their own food, they are dependent on others for their food. So both kind of organisms are found in here. Some can prepare their food, some can't. Now the third is kingdom fungi, unicellular or multicellular. It means the organisms in this category can be made up of single cell, or they can be made up of many cells. Well-defined cell wall, it means they have the cell wall. Okay, outermost boundary of the cell will be the cell wall. Heterotrophs occur in damp and moist places. Most of them are heterotrophs. They can't prepare their own, all of them can't prepare their own food, and they are found in the places that are dark. Okay, humidity is so much high, moist. So at that very dark, dingy places, these kinds of organisms are found. Now kingdom Plantae, multicellular organisms. It means the organism belonging to this category, they are made up of many cells. Have a well-defined cell wall. It means they have the cell wall in addition to cell membrane, and cell wall is the outermost boundary present in these kinds of organisms. Now mostly autotrophs. Most of them are autotrophs, and few exceptionals are heterotrophs also. Now kingdom Animalia, it means multicellular organisms, means the organisms here are made up of more than one cells, do not have a cell wall, they have only cell membrane. It means the outermost boundary won't be cell wall. Cell membrane will be the outermost boundary in this very category of organisms. Now heterotrophs means they can't prepare their own food, they are dependent on others for their food. So today first of all we are going to deal with kingdom Monera. Now come to next page, that is page number 37. Kingdom Monera. So term Monera was originated from a Greek word moneres, which means single. So bacteria are the member of this kingdom. Bacteria, only bacteria, the kind of organisms are found in this kingdom Monera, and they are abundant on earth. Means they are found everywhere on earth. Okay, we are everywhere around every one of us. Bacteria are present, but obvious they will be present, and they can't be visible. They are not visible. Bacteria are even present on our hands, on our clothes, but we can't see them. Why? Because they are very, very small. They can be only seen by our microscope. They can't be seen by our naked eyes because the size is very, very small. and they are found everywhere on the earth, and they can withstand extreme climates. When where the places where it's very hot, they are found in that very places also, in deserts also, in snow areas also. So these are the organisms that are omnipresent. Omni means the organisms that are present everywhere, in every extreme climate they can survive. Now, depending on the shape, they have been categorized into four, that is coccus, bacillus, vibrillium and spirillum. Just look at the table 4.2. Shape of the bacteria. Number 1, coccus, plural is cocci. Okay, you can see this shape is spherical. Second, bacillus, plural bacilli, rod shape, it means it's the shape of cylindrical shape or rod shaped. Okay, then vibrium, plural vibrio, comma shaped, it means it's the shape of comma. Now spirillum or spirilla, comma shaped. You can just look at the structure. These four kind of shapes of bacteria are found. Now again we are going to deal with the structure. So they are unicellular, that means they are made up of a single cell. They are prokaryotic, that means they don't have the well defined nucleus. The nucleus is not fully defined. Okay, discrete, not proper functional kind of nucleus is not present here. And they lack other membrane bound structures, for example mitochondria, chloroplast. These kind of cell organelles are not found in this bacteria. They are microscopic, that means they can be seen through the microscope only, and they are very small and they can find everywhere on the earth. And the outer wall, that is cell wall, is very very hard, and there is a whip like structure called flagella which help them in the movement. And they are not decomposers. They decompose the things, the dead decaying matter, they break down it and convert it into useful nutrients and just add to the soil. So they are very very beneficial from that point of view, and they are known as the decomposers. You just come to the figure 2.3, you can see the bacterial cell. So this here, like things, whatever you're seeing, it's flagella, this help them in the movement. This is a plasma membrane. This is the outermost boundary, is the cell wall that help them, that provide them strength, rigidity. And this is a capsule, has a sticky coating. Okay, now pili, these are small, these also are helping them in the movement only. This is the DNA, and flagella, I just told you that they help in the movement. So this is the very very structure of the bacteria. Now please turn to the another page, that is next page, that is page number 38. So nutrition. So autotrophic, it means these can prepare their own food using the inorganic substances. Okay, that can be photoautotrophs, means by using the light they can prepare their food, or chemoautotrophs, that means by using certain kinds of chemicals they can prepare their food. While others are heterotrophs, that means they are dependent on others, okay, for their food. For example, on the dead decaying matter, on other organisms, they are just surviving and getting their food from there. Now reproduction, binary fission. Okay, so binary fissions, it means binary means 2. Okay, it means division of 2. So they reproduce by binary fission, and when the condition is not favorable, then they reproduce by the spore formation. They form the spores and then they reproduce. So bacterial spores can withstand extreme climate conditions. They can reproduce even when the conditions are not favorable, in extreme heat, in too cold kind of conditions, they can germinate and they can reproduce. Now harmful and useful bacteria. So bacteria are present everywhere, but some of them are very useful for us and few of them are harmful of us. So what are the harmful bacteria? So harmful bacteria are known as the pathogens. So harmful bacteria are called pathogens. They are disease causing ones. They just get inside of our body, release some toxic substances called toxins, and they cause different kind of diseases. For example, Mycobacterium tuberculosis, they cause tuberculosis. Salmonella typhi, they cause typhoid. So in this way, when these kinds of harmful bacteria enter our body, they lead to diseases. Okay, so they are not at all good for us. Now the useful bacteria, lactobacillus bacteria. Okay, the formation of curd is happening because of this bacteria. This bacteria just get entered into the blood, milk, and they just get it converted into the curd. So from that point of view, this lactobacillus is very, very beneficial. They play a very important role. They are helping us out in making of antibiotics, in genetic engineering. Okay, in production of biofuels. Biofuels means nature friendly fuels. Okay, the fuel that are very eco-friendly. They produce less amount of pollution. They don't degrade our environment. They are environment friendly. Cyanobacteria helps in nitrogen fixing bacteria. E. coli aids in digestion. So these very bacteria are present inside. This E. coli is present inside our body, and they are helping us out in the digestion of food. In the cyanobacteria, they are present in the leguminous plants. Okay, for example, beans. In the roots of beans, they are present. They fix the nitrogen because nitrogen is abundant in the soil, but it's abundant in the air, but plant can directly take it from the air. So these fix the atmospheric nitrogen and add to the soil, and nitrogen is very much required by the plants, and these very bacterium, they fix the nitrogen into the soils that can be utilized by the plants. So here you can see table 2.1. Here is the name of different bacterial name and their diseases. Okay, that you are supposed to learn. Table 2.1. This is Bacillus anthracis, anthrax causing Clostridium tinnitus, tetanus, Clostridium botulinum, botulism, Helicobacter pylori, peptic ulcers and gastritis. Mycobacterium tuberculosis, Mycobacterium leprosy, okay, Salmonella typhoid, Vibrio cholera, Streptococcus pneumoniae causing pneumonia, Treponema pallidum causing syphilis. Now another table 2.1. Now in table 2.2, different bacterial name and their uses are now Bifidobacterium, Bacillus, Parobacillus, Cyanobacterium, E. coli, Lactobacillus, Acidophilus, Lactobacillus, lactic acid and acetic acid bacteria, Rhizobia, Streptomyces, and their different uses. Okay, they are used in making of antibiotics, nitrogen fixation, helps in digestion, makes our digestive system more healthy, in the formation of curd, yogurt, okay, in the digestion, and in fixing the atmospheric nitrogen, in making of the antibiotics. So you can see the bacteria are very useful to us by in different ways. So for today's assignment, you are supposed to learn table 2.1 and table 2.2. Thank you, students.